Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host, Pez. I'm here with Sauce. We are heading into a grand final tomorrow. It is grand final eve, I guess you could say, a public holiday here in Victoria, even though we can't do anything, still in lockdown, and lots of things happening this week, Sauce, in that world. But we're here to talk footy, and we have a grand final tomorrow.
Hey, Pez. Yeah, right, Pez. It's definitely been a different grand final week, Pez. You and I were talking about this early in the week, and I was having this discussion with a range of people this week. It's got a different vibe this year, and I don't know whether that's the lockdown or the week, the week break in between the grand final, but I feel like there hasn't been as much build-up as years previous.
There definitely hasn't been, because you usually watch the news or all the footy shows during the week and there's big things to go, but because it was a 2-week break, Sauce, there was not much to talk about in that first week, and I think it kind of put a sleeper on the whole thing later on. Of course, we're all still very excited about the game, but I just do wish if these two teams were in the grand final that the build-up was in Melbourne, because when you're going to work and you're doing all those things or going to different events, that's all the talk, and the vibe around the city is just amazing. So I'm sure if we were over in Perth at the moment, maybe some of the Perth listeners would be able to fill us in that maybe that vibe is getting up and about. They're excited they're getting a chance to have a grand final. I'm not sure it'd compare with what would be happening in Melbourne. Yeah,
really interesting one, that, Pez. You've seen around all the news and the amount of people that are painting their houses, their fences, and there's that sort of vibe still strong, but it's been going for 2 weeks, and I think, originally I was a big fan of having the week break because it allowed all the players to get healthy and similar to what the NFL do, but I'll be honest, Pez, I think that has been the big cusp of why it hasn't been so much of a hyped event, not because it's in Perth, but the fact that is last week I feel like they were trying to, skate around some of the big stories. There has been no real injuries where people normally there's they've got 7 days to get ready for the big game, and I think that they've been a little bit reluctant to run some of the big stories, worrying that they'll run out of time and running out of things to say, and it definitely has been it hasn't been as good, Pez, and I think it definitely has to do with the week break. So get rid of it next year.
Right. So, yeah, week break and not COVID. The only thing I saw in the injury front, which was pretty funny, was an interview with Stephen May where he goes, I'm definitely not missing this. And then he goes, oh, shit, I better say the team thing here and go, of course I'll do whatever's best for the team. But at the start, he was adamant. He's like, I'm definitely not missing this. We know he's going to be running out there on Saturday night, our time, and Saturday twilight Perth time. So it is pretty exciting. You've got some players that, have been omitted. And some Bulldogs that are vying for that medical sub spot as well. So that's very interesting when Melbourne are going in unchanged. So big things when we get into a preview.
Third week in a row unchanged for them. So that's big news for them.
Yeah, and it's definitely an advantage when you can get that, little structure around and you've got all the players that are playing and you know exactly what you're doing. You don't have to change anything at all. So big advantages there. The 2-week break. Also, we had the coronavirus scare over in Perth where, they did sell the other 10,000 tickets this week when they went public as well. So it's a sellout, but there was a scare that they might have had to move the grand final or no crowds or whatever was happening. So that if that did happen, imagine having that week break and instead of just playing the grand final last week, that would have been a huge mistake if something is to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the Premier came out yesterday, and despite the New South Wales truckman that had a positive case, they are running ahead with it. It would be one of those huge marketing blunders if they were to postpone it 1 week to make sure that they could have an event, and then a couple of days before it got shot down in flames. But the Perth government has been fantastic with this, and despite all the interruptions during the year that they've had and allowing people in, and you just look at the crazy schedule that the Bulldogs have had over this final series, travelling in and out and quarantines. They've done a fantastic job, and I'm really looking forward to it. Not the night grand final as such, but a night game at Perth Stadium. It's a spectacle stadium, and it's really good that SBS can get it up and running for it, Pez.
Yeah, I hope the pre-game stuff. I'm hearing that the longest kick is going to be around 3 p.m. our time. During the day, and then in Melbourne we've got, I guess, the Melbourne Storm in the prelim, to watch at 4 p.m. and then head into the grand final there. But no visitors at your home or anything like that. You can't go to a pub. So we're kind of stuck to Zoom, WebEx, whatever your video call of choice is.
Zoom calls, picnics out in the backyard, Pez, and I have a feeling there'll be a few people maybe manipulating the rules as much as they can. Those single bubbles might come into play a little bit more than they have previously, but you can't risk this sort of stuff with coronavirus. You've got to stay home, you've got to stay locked up and enjoy the spectacle how you can. For sports fans, Pez, it's exactly what we want for a Saturday afternoon. As you said, you got a range of different things. They'll have the grand final lead-in all through the day, have a barbie going with your family or whoever you're living with, go into the longest kick, get into the NRL and start things off with a Melbourne win and then go into hopefully a back-to-back for me, Melbourne win, Pez.
Oh, there we go. Early mail, Melbourne and Melbourne. Very interesting. Let's, I really want to get into this preview of the game, Sauce. But before we do that, Michael Voss was named the coach of Carlton. So just a quick, opinion on that.
It's really good for Voss. I think Voss was put in a terrible situation when he was appointed the Brisbane Lions coach, way back when. And I think that he has done the right things. And I'm really happy that he's got a second chance at it, because he's gone away and he's become, assistant coaches. He had a really, pivotal role in what they did over in Port Adelaide with Ken Hickley, and in learning a range of different things, not only how to lead, but how to delegate, which was a really important thing that he's come out and said. That's like when he took on Brisbane, he realised he was having too many hats and he didn't know how to delegate as much, and that was one of the big lessons that he learnt from it. So it's exciting times for Carlton, because it sounds like, for the first time in a long time, Pez, and you and I had this discussion, is they've actually got a coach, and it's important to have a coach going into the trade season. The trade season is only 4 or 5 days away, and, you need a coach to be able to anchor yourself into a really positive trade market. So positive signs for Carlton.
Thanks for the short opinion there, Sauce. That's awesome. But I agree, Bossy. He's actually had an apprenticeship now, and has been played a really important role over at Port Adelaide. So I think that he can come over, move his family down to Victoria and do some good things at Carlton, because they do have some talent on the list, and they've got some players that need to kick up the arse and, put in more effort on the track or whatever it might be. And Vossi can be the man to do that. So Carlton have something to look forward to. They can have their banners up in the off season. We're coming, whatever they want to do. So there we go. We got to speak about Carlton in a grand final show. So there you go, Carlton fans.
Yeah, they'll be very happy, Pez, and you haven't had to dig at any Essendon fans yet, so they'll be even more happy, the Essendon fans, that you've mentioned that the arch rivals and not Essendon. So, but Pez, we do have to get into the main event, and an absolute spectacle. We've been talking about this all year, and realistically, Pez, it's one of those games where generally you don't always get the two top teams, but you can say that both of these teams have been two of the top 4 teams all year round. And we get into our massive grand final preview. Pez, are you ready for it?
Let's get into it.
All right, we start things off. We've got Melbourne as the home team, obviously finishing top of the ladder. Melbourne taking on the Western Bulldogs. The bookies have it as $1.64 favourites to Melbourne. The outsiders are the Western Bulldogs. But Pez, as we know in a grand final, anything can happen. The line is very short at -7.5. The over-under is 154.5, Pez, and it's been debated all week, well, for the last fortnight, knows. How will this game unfold? I'm looking forward to hearing your input.
Yeah, well, quite heavy favourites, I guess, at $1.64, whatever you said there, Sauce. So Melbourne happy going in there. As we mentioned, no changes. All right, so very important. And you've said for the whole finals, no changes. Alex Keith comes in, who's been a really important defender for Melbourne, and Cody Waitman comes in after that head knock in the first final. So Ryan Gardner omitted, unfortunately, for Alex Keith. We've got Vandermeer, who's been omitted for Cody Waitman, and Scott as the medi-sub. So if you are an Essendon fan, Vandermeer probably coming to the Bombers next season, and he might fit in at that medi-sub, get a medal, and come and show what a premiership medal looks like to those Essendon players down there.
Really disappointing for Vandermeer. He's had a really great season when he's been able to get into that side, but with a side as talent, and it always happens with grand final week when you got a team that's made the grand final. There's always some unlucky people, but I think Vandermeer's an extremely unlucky one to miss the spot there.
Yeah, and no one's going to hold it against him that he's leaving. Like if he is, the best player available, Beveridge would be picking him, and
Yeah.
he'd be playing him no matter if he's leaving or not. So I think leaving doesn't help his case. If there's two players and they're even, and you're thinking I can't split these two players, the choice of him leaving is probably how you split that. So Vandermeer unlucky. He's unfortunately he's got to hope for a little niggle or an injury before the game, but he'll be there in force anyway. We had Nathan Jones who went home as well, who wasn't going to be in the best side for Melbourne. So that's happened as well. But no hard luck stories or heartbreak stories for Melbourne. A couple for the Bulldogs, especially with Gardner, who's filled in well for Keith, but Keith's been the better defender all year.
Yeah, Keith was always going to come back into that side. But you mentioned injury niggles, Pez. We head over to Melbourne side, and there has been a few little injury niggles. At the start of the fortnight, one of their intra-club games, Charlie Spargo went down with a bit of a rolled ankle, and it seems to be recovered well, and it was more of a precaution. And we've also had the question mark surrounding Stephen May. So there's two of those things, and it's obviously not as a big overshadow as normal grand finals with only the week to recover. But we do have to mention that there have been a little bit of injury niggles throughout the week.
Yeah, and watching Stephen May in that final, in that prelim, when he did the thing, they didn't sub him off straight away. So that's a big positive. They got him to run around again for another quarter and a bit. So because he was able to get out on the ground, I'm pretty confident after the fortnight rest that he'll be right and ready to go. And a really important All-Australian defender for Melbourne.
Yeah, I totally agree, Pez. I think that, if it was a major concern, he would have been subbed out straight away. But the fact that he outplayed that game, and then throughout the week he's been training fine. There's been no real reports of him actually struggling. It's just more the fact that he did go off injured in that game and subbed off. So it gives the media something to talk about. Pez, we look at both of these sides, and we've analysed both of these sides all year. The style of play they play a very similar sort of midfield battle, and I think that this is going to be a grand final where, unlike a range of different years beforehand, that the midfield battle, whoever wins the midfield battle is going to take control in this game. Pez, what are the keys to Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs taking out this premiership?
Well, you look at Melbourne and they've got their two keys, their two favourites as they were for the Brownlow. You got Petrarca in there. He's got X Factor as well. He's a goal kicker. You got Oliver, who's been hitting the scoreboard as well. So them on the inside, but on the other side, you've got Bulldogs with a lot of running players. So Bailey Smith's going to be really important. He's had an amazing final series. Liberatore to try and get that contested ball. That'll be a good battle with Oliver to see who can, get that ball going forward and get some good ball movement so that the other team can't really defend it. And Bontempelli, I think he had a knee scare early in the final series. He should be right now with plenty of time for that to heal. He was good in the prelim final as well, so he can also play forward and go from there. So that's a midfield battle, but the big advantage Melbourne has, what is it, Sauce?
It's the defence, Pez. It's they've got an extremely strong defence there, Pez, and it's something that doesn't play into the Western Bulldogs' favour either, because if you look at their forward line, it's not a strong forward line, but the way that they control the defence and the way that they move the football through, quite opposite to the Western Bulldogs, move it through that midfield with that Western Bulldogs sort of favour that, handball frenzy, inside, outside, that more calculated move. I think it definitely suits the Melbourne Demons there. I was about to say the Western Bulldogs, but definitely suits the Demons there with those two, pivotal pieces down back. But that back line full stop has been the number one defence all year. Yeah,
100% the back line as well, especially with Gawn as well going back there. I think it'll be a good battle in the ruck with Gawn and Stephen Martin there in that midfield going from there. But I think Melbourne have the advantage because Gordon's probably going to win in the ruck, but then he's also going to win around the ground and, going back and going forward. So Stephen Martin, if the Bulldogs are going to win, he's got to play an absolute massive role in this moving forward. But I just think Melbourne watching their final series, Bulldogs watching their final series, that Melbourne are the ones to watch because the Bulldogs let Brisbane move the ball against them. Could have easily lost that game. They ended up winning by a point. But Brisbane were able to move the ball through the midfield and they weren't efficient going inside forward 50. We've seen through the final series, Melbourne, very efficient going inside forward 50. Not so much to Ben Brown and Tom McDonald, kind of being used as baits or decoys. Neil Bullen, Sparrow, Fritsch, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's interesting, Pez. I sort of tend to agree with you in terms of the way Melbourne play and the way that they generate inside 50s through that fast-paced, running the pill, that high-risk, high-reward football we've spoken about most of the year. The Western Bulldogs are a little bit more calculated, but I think actually if we take away the midfield, we take away the defence and the ruck, and we've spoken about, Melbourne are the superior team in a range of categories. We look at the ruck, battle that they'll win that. The midfield battle, that's pretty sort of even. Whoever gets control of the midfield is gets control of the ball is probably going to win. You look at their forward line and their fence. They've got the tick, tick, tick. The only thing that I worry about for Melbourne actually taking out this game is the coaching battle. Now, we've spoken about this a range of times before about, Beveridge, whether he is a good coach or whether he's not. But we've seen throughout this final series the way that he can adjust and the way that he makes teams, really fearful of the style of play that they're going to play has generated. If Melbourne are worried about that and they adjust the way that they play, they're going to lose this game. So it's really important that, the Western Bulldogs probably going to put another number behind the ball and they're probably going to cause that sort of extreme pressure. If Melbourne adjust, they're going to lose. All they need to do is go out and play their midfield game and, continue the midfield battle and the dominance that they've had for the whole of the year.
Yeah, it was very interesting up in the coach's box this week. And I don't know what I would do against this Melbourne side and where I would go with that. So Beveridge is in a lot better position. He's seen Melbourne a couple of times this year and he's seen them throughout the final series. So he knows what his team's capable of and what they need to do. And they really need to put pressure on the ball handler because Melbourne have just been able to hit targets down the ground and enter their forward 50 unopposed in the end there. So big battle there. I'm looking forward to it, and I've had the most excitement now than from the last 2 weeks. Usually I'm excited all the way leading up to the grand final, but now that we're finally speaking about it, Sauce, this is going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah, and I think, Pez, fairness to the week, there's been a lot going on this week too with the protests, the earthquake. I had a wisdom tooth pulled out, so I've been a little bit down and out. But Pez, it's one of those things where as soon as you start talking about it, you can hear the excitement and you can hear this grand final really has a potential to do anything. Whoever gets hold of that football is going to really put themselves in a commanding spot. You look at across the whole list, there's a range of, and do not take offence to this Western Bulldogs and Melbourne fans. There's a lot of no-namers. There's a lot of key parts that just do their part. As you said, in the previous Pez, just a range of Moneyball players where they just fit the role perfectly. They look at this. You look at their top 6 stars; they're both elite. Their midfielders are elite. You look at down back, they've got some really key pieces coming back in Keith that, as well as May, and there's a range of different things there that obviously construct a really good defence. It's a really exciting game, and I think that the bookmakers have favourites towards Melbourne, but I don't actually think it's as close as that, Pez. We know that the Bulldogs, when they get on top, they're very hard to stop once they get rolling.
Oh yeah, and the Bulldogs, their midfield, they can roll all day, but it will be the defensive pressure that's put on in this game. How will it be? It'll be really intense at the start, like it is from every grand final. When it settles, who will come out on top and who will be able to move that ball forward better than the other side? That's the team that's going to win the game. And if you're going to want to mention some other teams, they had their season over and it's all of that. All North Melbourne fans probably going for Melbourne with Benny Brown in there, going from wooden spoon to premiership player. You've got Hawthorn fans with Mitch Hannon, probably don't like him that much, so they're probably going for Melbourne as well. And Collingwood fans probably aren't going for Treloar and the Western Bulldogs, so they're probably going for Melbourne. So I think Melbourne have a few more supporters on their side this week.
Yeah, possibly best. That and the fact that no one likes the Bulldogs, so there's that as well.
There's a lot of people that do love the Bulldogs, and you've seen the houses painted and all that thing. We painted the town orange in 2019, but it's divided between the colours of Melbourne and Western Bulldogs.
I mean, they got the same colours as blue and red, yeah? Just different shades.
Just add some white in there.
Add some white in there, Pez. Do you think the premiership experience from some of the Bulldogs players is pivotal during this game? Obviously, seeing how it unfolds, obviously in a more high pressure situation with the game being in Melbourne, as opposed to sort of the low key final that has been the SBS Stadium.
Yeah, experience always comes into a play. They've got some premiership players in there from 2016 and continuing from that. Melbourne's experience in terms of getting flogged in a prelim final over at this ground with against West Coast in 2018, and then coming through and dominating the qualifying in the prelim final. I think they're both experienced lineups. They've been playing with this pandemic happening and lots of things going on. There'll be a big crowd, and I think it's a really even type battle in terms of that. I don't think the Bulldogs get a big boost from that, but we'll see on the day.
And which way do you think the crowd is going to be favouring towards? We saw obviously in some of the finals coming up that Melbourne have had a really intense following, but we know that the Western Bulldogs fans are coming in numbers, and they have travelled across the country during their final series. So do you think there's going to be more of a home crowd advantage to one team or the other?
Oh, that's really hard. That's really hard to tell because both games or all games, I think that except for the Bulldogs, Essendon were the majority fans. I think it'll be pretty even, to be honest, to go from there. But we'll see on the day and see who's been able to get onto tickets.
It's been able to sneak across the border there, Pez.
in saying that, Sauce, I think that Melbourne will get the win this week, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I've been against Melbourne for a lot, but I think they're going to win the premiership. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I tend to agree, Pez. I think they're one of those sides that I did actually pick the Bulldogs at the start of the year to win the premiership, but that first week of the finals, the way that they just looked so elite, Melbourne, and even against Geelong, I hadn't seen a team put it together like they have in a long time, and I think that they have what it takes to win their first premiership in, 56 years, 64 years, something like that.
So Geelong had their season over, mate. You don't have to mention them every week.
Oh, settle down.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Come on.
Because Melbourne went against them. All right, so what we have to do, Sauce, is we're probably got to put our money where our mouth is and get into the bet slip.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Now Betts with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes!
All right, mate. I'm just looking at my hair in the Zoom. We need the hairdresser's still open, mate. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, are you doing that because you can see my hair and beard at the moment? I feel a lot less, definitely with some beard envy this week, Pez, with Max Gawn looking very manicured over in Perth, being able to get it done. I am looking a bit like a caveman myself, Pez, so you might need to get on the scissors. You got to do it yourself?
You give your beard yourself. I wouldn't touch my hair because
you
I've only got a few haircuts left. see what happens after that. But that's a pretty special discussion about hair, but get into the actual specials.
Yeah, let's definitely get into the specials, Pez, because that wasn't as special as normally interests in the show.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang!
I don't usually look into the bottom corner, but I saw myself in there and I was like, oh, what's going on here? But we get into it. Sportsbet, they have the same game multi-saver. You've got up to 3 refunds per match, 3 to 4 legs. If 1 leg fails, you get a bonus back. 5 to 6 legs, you can have 2 legs fail, and 7+ legs, you can have 3 legs fail there with Sportsbet. They've got the BYO AFL Grand Final bets as well, so interested to see if you had a look into that. You can, request a bet. What give me a price for this, and this to happen, and they'll do it. Tab AFL Grand Final same game multi special with the bonus 50 back. They've also got, and this is a good one, Source, the venue mode exclusive head-to-head special. So go into any Tab venue, bet on your team head-to-head, and if they lead at halftime but lose, you get a bonus bet back up to $50. So take advantage of that, Source, here in Victoria. Ladbrokes we head to, they've got a 3+ leg same game multi as well. If 1 leg fails, they've also got $2 lines. So if you're going to do a line bet, Ladbrokes is probably the place to be because it goes up to $2 instead of the $1.90, $1.91 that you get at other places. Ned's same game multi, 3+ special, and the $2 lines. We know they're the same company, and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I like some of the Sportsbet bring your own AFL Grand Final bets there, Pez. Not always good in terms of value, but it's good just to see what people are thinking. And, obviously, if someone has put that bet down, it's made it to the actual app, then someone actually thinks it's going to happen. And it's a good little insight into what people think are going to happen. I haven't put it down, Pez, but there's a really good one. Just $2. Melbourne to win, Melbourne most goals, Melbourne player, the Norm Smith. Just a little $2 one there. I don't mind that one at all. But it's as you said, it's bring your own AFL Grand Final bets for a reason, and they give you those different categories, up to $5, $5 to $20, and then there's the older 51 to 101 markets.
Well, and what about more than that? I've got the biggest bring your own bet here source. Bulldogs 139, very possible. Tom Liberatore first goal, and Adam Treloar, Norm Smith, $501.
Wow, that actually seems a lot more likely than than those odds suggest. Obviously,
If the pressure's in there, Libby kicked the first 2 goals in one of the finals this thing.
He did too.
For the Bulldogs?
This thing.
this final series? What are we talking about?
Oh, Pez. All right, let's get into it, Pez. How are we going to run this bet slip? Because it is a little bit different than we normally have. We've only got the one game, the last game, a little bit sad for us, Pez. Run us through what the structure is going to be.
We haven't spoken about the rules, so just bet what you want. You can have, I don't know, 5, 6, whatever you want sauce, include a cheeky in there, and that's it.
Yep, so the standard rules for us, Pez. We've got no rules. This way I can't break any rules. Oh, we might start things off, Pez, with... we both said that Melbourne is going to win, so we might start things off with, I guess, the winning markets, the head-to-head or the line market. So let's get into it first, Pez. I know that you've got a head-to-head market there for sure. Tell me who's going to win this game.
Yeah, I do. I've already said Melbourne's going to win the game, so I'll put my money there. $1.64 on Sportsbet, but $1.74 on Neds. So I've gone over to Neds, put the max 50 on that for a return of $87, and I guess my money's barracking for Melbourne on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm the exact same, Pez. I haven't gone with the head-to-head market. I like the line at -7.5. I think that this game, you know, just like all the other finals, if they can break open, they can break open, and Melbourne can score quite fast. And as soon as that back is broken by the Bulldogs, I think they'll take out the chocolates there. So I've gone 25 on Neds at the $2 lines -7.5, Pez.
Well, there you go. Enjoy that. I might go next source. I'll put a little same game multi together as well, and Melbourne versus the Bulldogs. I've gone the alternate. All right, so I've gone the alternate handicap, Melbourne plus 24.5. So because I think they will win, even if they don't, I can still get that leg up. I've gone the total game points, and it's very dangerous in a grand final, but being over in Perth and these two sides, I think it's going to be over 131.5, and I think it's going to be under 181.5. So I've got a 50-point buffer in there for it to fall in between. Those 3 legs together, power boosted that, and it's $1.70.
What was your total line, sorry, there, Pez? Your total over-under?
Over 131.5, under 181.5.
I mean, you should be pretty good there, Pez. You know, 5 of the last 6 grand finals have gone under 155.5. So very interesting. You haven't got much margin to play with if history is against you.
No, we'll go from there, but hasn't been over at this stadium before, so I think it'll be higher scoring at night as well. Max 50.
Very good there, Pez. I've gone with a 3-leg same-game multi for mine. I've tried to stay away from putting the result in there in a couple of my bets because we know that if you lose the bet in terms of the game, then it puts you in a really tough spot. So if you mispick it, which we've done plenty of times during this final series, Pez, where we've missed the actual prediction of who's going to win. So I've gone with Christian Salem to get 20. He's been on fire coming off that back line. Jack Viney, who's a very, very good value at $1.60 to get 20 or more, as considering last game he got 28 and the game before he got 22. 34 in the last one. And I've gone with Christian Petrarca to keep his form alive and get 25. I'll put the max 50 on that, Pez, at $2.15.
Yeah, well, there you go, Sauce. You're liking the disposal markets and going from there. I think I've stayed away from the disposals this weekend because you got the 15 plus and then the 20 plus. You don't know how contested and what's going to happen. So best of luck there. I might go into my next bet source, and what I've had to do is I've had to put my $25 bonus on from Ned's from a couple of weeks ago, and I've just gone in the Norm Smith medal market source, and I was looking at Bailey Smith at a good value at $15, but if Melbourne win, like I think they're going to, Bailey Smith isn't going to be able to do that. So Bulldogs have to win if a Bulldogs player is going to get it. So I've gone with the biggest X factor, which is Christian Petrarca. He's paying $6. I've got $25 bonus on that. I think if he gets, 20, 25 disposals, kicks 2 goals, he can have a really big impact. I don't think Max Gawn's going to kick 5 like he did in the prelims. So I think Petrarca is a good shot if Melbourne can get the win.
Yeah, I love that bet, Pez, but it's a really terrible odds that you got there because I've done the exact same with my $25 bonus bet, and I've put it on earlier in the week, obviously. So I've got Christian Petrarca at $7 for the bonus bet, but I totally agree. And I think it's a media award, Pez, and I think that there's no chance in this day and age you watch any of the finals that the Bulldogs and Melbourne have been playing, that one of those big players don't get it, especially when it's a media award. They love Tracker, they love Ollie Wines, they love Clayton Oliver, they love the big Bont. So I think one of those big names definitely gets it, and I'm doing exactly what you said, Pez, going with one of those blokes who's going to get 25 or so, a couple of snags, and make a huge impact for the game. So I've put my $25 bonus bet at $7 odds.
No, we can't have the same bet on the Norm Smith medal Sauce.
We don't. I've got better odds.
I couldn't get any better odds because I did it today, and I couldn't look at any other agencies because my bonus bet's with Meds. So go from there. I've got the 3 bets now there at the moment, and my last one, Sauce, is my cheeky. Now, this one, as I said, you never know what's going to happen in grand final. It's going to be high pressure situation at the start, and I think something just might slip out the back and get a nice little mark inside forward 50 to kick a goal. And I've gone first goal scorer at $17 to go to Melbourne and go to Charlie Spargo. So I'll put a cheeky 10 on that.
Charlie Spargo. Oh, I like that one. He's good value to kick a goal anyway. I think he's about sitting at $1.80 or $1.90 or something. So that's really good value, $17 for the first goal, Pez. While we're staying cheeky, Pez, I might do the exact same.
Cheeky!
And what I've done, Pez, is I've looked at the Western Bulldogs and looked at what one of their deficits is. And one of the deficits this year, they've definitely been struggling against those smaller forwards. So I've gone, as you said, a little bit cheeky and a high-scoring game at Optus Stadium. I've gone with Petrarca to get 20 or more, so he should do that in his sleep. Keziah Pickett, our man, to kick 2 or more goals, and he's a bit of an X-factor. You know, Duray will be playing on him, and I think he'll get off the leash a little bit there. And then the other smaller forward, Bailey Fritsch, to kick 3 or more. That gives me odds of $9.03, Pez, and I've whacked 25 on that one. Feeling pretty confident.
Well, there you go. Cozzy Pickett, 2 goals. You know, he kicked the 2 in the prelim. You'll hope for that minus line as well with Melbourne. And if the Bulldogs come out on fire, you'll be in trouble with a lot of your bets. So it'll give you some more hatred for the Bulldogs. But there we go. Is that all your bet slip? Because that's all mine done.
That is all my bet slip, Pez.
You know, we are done and dusted, ready to go. The only other thing we really have, we've got our bets, we've done our preview. I did want to speak about the competition that we had running, you know, the line bets throughout the season, because in the prelim final, Sauce, I got 2 up on you and we're even.
We are even, Pez, and it's a bit unfortunate that I'm going for Melbourne getting in first. So,
no, I'm on Melbourne as well, but can I? I have to be because I've got my money there. I can't be going for the other.
Well, you haven't put a line bet down, so you've only put a head-to-head. So you could go for Melbourne by a point.
Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to. So I think we're both going Melbourne, and that's disappointing. And both being punters, that we're going to call that a draw for the year.
I'm sure we'll find something else to bet on throughout the mark, Pez. But what we might need to do, Pez, we might also need to talk about our Brownlow form and what we are going into this grand final in terms of percentage-wise and staked and returned for the year. Because, Pez, we've had another positive year, and unless something drastic happens, we're both going to finish in the positive.
Yeah, well, looking at our bets, our 4 bets or whatever we've got, unless we do some live bets and get some really high ones and lose.
Which is a very big possibility.
We should definitely be positive. But I staked $190 on the Brownlow Sauce. Return 156. I was disappointed. My strategy didn't work with the big goal kickers, Darling and Franklin, kicking big bags of goals. They didn't get the vote, Sauce. So they gave them to the midfielders this season. So it was disappointing. Return 156, minus 17.89%. For the year, I've staked $5,170. I've returned $5,562.92. My ROI sitting at 7.6%, Sauce, under that 10.
Under that 10, but once Melbourne win on the weekend, Pez, you'll be up over that 10, so we'll be laughing. For the Brownlow, I staked $175, returned $119.38, an ROI of 31.78%. Started off really well, Pez, but then a couple of my future bets, I guess result bets, you know, top 3, as well as the Zorko to get over Group B, he ended up losing that by 1 vote, so that was really disappointing for me. Callum Mills obviously took out Group B, so a little disappointing. but as we said, it was a bit of fun, and I'm glad that we had a Brownlow show, Pez, because, the one that we record, we actually went down in, in ROI, the first time we had a negative one, but that is punting. So for the year, I've staked $4,595, returned $5,407.98, and ROI still pretty huge, Pez, of 17.69%, aiming for that 20% if I can tear up sort of four wins this weekend.
Yeah, you might be able to get there, which will be a massive result. And then we'll head into our next podcast season, which will be, I don't know, our 5th season doing this. And we've had win after win after win every single year. So it's looking like it'll be the same this week. I don't think I'm going to go into any live bets. So even if I lose every single bet source, I'm going to be up for the year, which is what you plan to do at the start of the year. And we planned for 10%, aim high for 20 if we can get there. So you've got a chance to get the 20. I've hopefully got a chance to get the 10, and we can tick that off the list for this season.
Yep, another tick in the books, Pez. That'd be what, 4-0, 4 positives there, which is fantastic for the pod. And you're right, looking into season 5 for us, and also looking into some of the trade talk that starts very close after the grand final. They don't really let them celebrate too long, do they, Pez?
No, you sent me a message, I think, earlier in the week. Trade radio starts in this many days, and I was like, well, it's this many days to the grand final. What? It starts as soon as the grand final's finished, and that's the answer. Yep, it starts on the Monday. So
pretty much
Trade Week Radio, they're ready to go. We've got some news happening in the off season of players leaving and that. So, Sauce, if you're up for it, we could actually do a little show as well heading into there before we call it quits for the year and go on holidays in our lockdown state.
Well, since there's a lockdown, Pez, we actually should get together, virtually, of course, after the grand final and review a Melbourne victory and talk about our success of me hitting 20% and you hitting 10%, and just get us going right into that off season before trade radio. So I have to be pretty quick.
and the line bets, we could have a big result there because we've both picked Melbourne, so we'll both finish on 98 all for the end of the year. So we'll have to review that as well and talk about that draw.
Well, we know, Pez, that there won't be a draw on the grand final day because they will play extra time. But with us, Pez, we might have to play extra time into next season and kick off things next season with some sort of decider.
Yeah, I'm not in the preseason though, just in the normal season because preseason is rubbish, and we're already speaking about that. Hopefully, we get back to normal living into next season 2022, and we can actually go to the footy more often than we were able to this year as well, and maybe get into a sneaky grand final at the MCG. Hasn't been there for a while, so I'm missing that.
It hasn't been there for a while, Pez, and that would be very good to get back to football, get back to some bevies at the football and having some live punts with some mates and listening to some D's fans from behind you and you rile them up. So it'd be good to get back out there, Pez. But, if you haven't got the jab, go and get the jab, obviously, so we can start to go back and into some of that normality.
All right, and we'll see how it goes this week with all the protests and things like that, all the updates from COVID kind of overshadowing what is a grand final between two Melbourne-based clubs. So best of luck. If you're a Melbourne supporter, you've had a long wait, I'm sure. If you're a new Melbourne supporter, like the young ones like to do, like to jump on the new ones, I hope your team wins, and then your team will probably win next year as well because you jump on the bandwagon of someone else. But Bulldog supporters, you've tasted success and you know what it feels like, and they'll be hungry for more. So best of luck to those Doggies fans. I'm sure it'll be nervous times for those supporters and everyone else. Enjoy your grand final day with whatever you do.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience, Pez. I was talking to a Melbourne fan earlier, and it's the lead up to a grand final before your team has actually played is an amazing thing, and the nerves there. So good luck to both teams and both fan bases, because as much as I don't like the Bulldogs, it is a really amazing feat to make the grand final, and you should definitely live up because 54 years between drinks for Melbourne supporters. It's almost been 20 years between they've actually made a grand final again. It's a long time coming, and may not come again in your lifetime. So definitely live it up, enjoy the game, and if you're having a punt, as always, just bet responsibly, enjoy, stay safe, and that's it for us.
That's it. Signing out. I'm getting excited. I might start on the VBs now and head into the grand final straight away. So I'm Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.